Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on this Swift Gazelle F61. So the vehicle itself is in lovely condition. Bodywork has been very well kept. What I'm going to do is going to start under the bonnet so we can see what we've got going on under here. So we've got the engine battery over on the left hand side. We've got the brake fluid up here attached to the servo behind it. Power steering fluid here at the front. Engine oil gets topped up through here, and your engine oil dipstick is the yellow topped one at the front. You then got your chassis plates down here, so you need to look at this one here, which has got Swift written on the top of it. You've got a couple of fuses and relays underneath this cover here. More Fiat related stuff under here as well. Your engine coolant is in here, and your air filter sits inside this box to the right. Then got your diesel filling point just here behind this little cover, again with a nice striping on it to match the rest of the van. You've got the full-sized Fiamma wind out awning on the side of the van, which has been opened up and lubricated as part of the habitation check. Inside the passenger door, there's never really much to run through. In this particular case, all you really need to know is that you've got your electric window on the door, and there is a little fuse board behind here usually. Same on the other side, actually on the driver's side, you've got the same sort of one here. On the driver's side, your OBD reader is attached in there as well. I will get inside the van in a minute and show you all the inside parts, but for now I'm just going to carry on around the outside. So we've got these two vents just here which both say Electrolux on them, which are both to do with your fridge. So if you ever needed any access to the back of the fridge, you get to it from inside here. I've got the fridge lit up on gas at the moment, and that means that I can feel warm air coming out through the top of this right hand vent. We've got an external locker here, so if you pull this out you can then open this up. That is your jack, your sort of wheel brace kit in there. You can completely close this up and lock it up as well with the set of keys that you've got for the vehicle. You've then got at the back here a really nice little locker which gives you access to the underneath of the bed. Loads of storage under there, as well as your rear sort of air points for the air assisted suspension at the back. So that's what they are just there. I'll close this up for a minute. Underneath we have got your wastewater drain off point, so that is where you drain off your wastewater from. Towards the back of the vehicle we've got your bike rack, which is actually a lot newer than the van is. Looks like a newish one to me. Reversing camera, which was fitted already before we got the vehicle. It has also got sensors, so you can see there you've got reversing sensors there either side of the number plate, and then we'll go on to this offside. So on the offside here at the back we've got your freshwater filling point, so that comes off from there as long as you've unlocked it, nice and easy. Next door to that is your boiler vent. So if you have got this lit up on gas, I don't at the moment, but if you did, you would feel warm air coming out through the top of this cover here. You have also got this little cover here which will be left on the vehicle, which just basically pops onto the front of this, and it's essentially just a winter cover to stop any sort of bugs getting in there, making spider webs or whatever. So that is the boiler. So I'm hooked up on the mains at the moment, so I can show you a few bits working inside. This has been replaced because the one that was in it before was completely ruined. So that is new. Hookup's plugged in at the moment, and I'll show you what that powers when we get inside. Underneath the hookup point, we've got your gas locker. So this particular locker has got space for 2 of these 6 kilo propane bottles. To turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. That turns the bottle on. And clockwise around to the right all the way will turn the bottle off. Your gas regulator is this part just here. You don't have to do anything with that, but basically just make sure you keep your eye on it. Make sure there's, if there was any sort of gassy smells inside here, just have a little look around there, see if you can sort of feel any leaks coming out or anything. The gas has been fully pressurized and pressure tested. Everything's, you know, absolutely fine as we speak. Make sure that you turn the gas bottle off before you start driving away. That is really important, mainly because the last thing you want in the event of a crash is 30 millibars of gas pumping through. So that's your gas locker there. And then the last locker on the outside is this, which is your toilet cassette locker. So to take the actual cassette out, we lift up on the yellow tab. We can then pull the entire cassette towards us and it will then come out all together. The only thing you need to remember with this is that you empty it out from here. So you take this little cap off and you empty it out from there. Whilst you're emptying it out, you should be holding down the little yellow button at the back. And the only other thing is, I mean, we've done it as part of the habitation check, but you have got as well a rubber seal under here. All right, so this rubber seal that you can see, the circular one, is the seal that stops, that basically bridges the gap between the cassette and the toilet inside. So if you don't lubricate that seal every now and again, it will basically leak past it and come in to the locker. So really important, silicone lubricant on that rubber seal as often as you can. You know, it doesn't have to be every time or anything, but just whenever you get a second to do it. Same sort of thing with these rubber seals. It looks like we've done it as part of the hab check anyway. But if you can spray silicone lubricant on any of these rubber seals around the doors, it will stop any water coming down and into the locker. So, just going to run you through the cab. If I just take the keys out of my pocket. Right, so the cab is relatively straightforward. This particular age of Fiat Ducato, which nearly all of the motorhomes are based on, this van here next to us is, the one next to that is, they are quite basic. It was only when they changed over in sort of 2007 or 8 that they started getting a bit more technical, but in all honesty, these are just, you know, so reliable. So I quite like them. So under the drivers, well, the steering wheel there, you've got your steering column adjustment handle there, so you can pull that up towards you and then move the steering wheel to wherever you need it to be. And to the left of that, we've got the bonnet release handle there. This is the little cover I was saying about, which gives you access to your fuses, and this little one just here is the one that gives you access to the OBD reader. On this side, you've got access to both electric windows and your electric adjusting mirrors. So you've got your washers and wipers on the right hand side, lights and indicators on the left. Reversing camera screen is just there in the middle. Again, like I said, you know, fitted by the previous owner at some point. You've got a single DIN head unit up there. It does say it's got Bluetooth on it. So, you know, we don't really tend to play around with those as part of the habitation checks. It's kind of separate. So, you know, I've got no doubt it all works, but there you go. So you've got your hazard lights from the middle just there, and your fog lamp to the right of it. All of your heater controls are from here at the bottom. So you've got your fan speed setting, temperature, and where the air blows to. 12-volt socket down there is being used for the reversing camera at the moment, but you have got another one just there. But for the cab, that is pretty much it really. So I think it's a pretty low mileage on this one. Yeah, 53,000. So camera there, 53,000 on the clock there. So for the kind of vehicles that these are based on, these Fiat Ducatos are so reliable, and 50,000 miles is, you know, sort of barely touching the engine really. So I'm going to show you around the inside now. Please don't please try and ignore the back end of the vehicle at the moment, because it is a bit of a mess. It's only like that because it gives me access to the boiler, the leisure battery, and a few other things that I need to run you through. So that is why it looks like that. So first things first, we've got the overcab bed up here. If you should want to use it, you can fold this part down, and then it basically makes up into a nice big double bed over the cab. So if you need that, that's there. If you don't, you can leave it in this position here so that you've got, you know, really easy access to getting in and just sitting down in the driver's seat from here. So the first thing I'm going to run you through is going to be up here, and this is the control panel. So these Swift control panels are very, very simple and easy to use. Now, it's a little bit high up for me to hold my camera, so sorry if it's a little bit sort of shaky, but I'll try my best. So what you've got on the left-hand side is a little rocker switch. So we've got, at the bottom, we've got a caravan, and at the top, we've got a van, basically. So what that means is you've got leisure battery at the bottom and vehicle battery at the top. All right, so that is essentially choosing which battery we want to power the back end of the vehicle. So the lights that we've got on at the moment, I've got the fan on for the heater at the moment. Anything that works from 12 volts needs to have a battery selected, whether it be leisure down or vehicle up. So for the most part, we're going to want to use the leisure battery. In fact, pretty much all the time, we're going to want to use the leisure battery. And the reason for that is, purely and simply, if you use the vehicle battery to power everything in the back end, eventually you're not going to be able to start the van up. All right, it'll just go flat. So at the moment, we want to be down here at the bottom on leisure. It then tells us to the right of that, the battery voltage and the water level when we press this button. So that's showing us the water level at the bottom there, half a tank, and the rest of the time it's showing us the battery voltage, full power. So the reason we got full power at the moment is because we have the hookup plugged in, and the mains charger, which is this thing just here, is currently charging our leisure battery up, which is down here. There is an isolator for the charger just there, so we can turn that on and off from there. That's the mains charger. But, you know, for the most part, you're just going to have it down there on leisure, whether you're hooked up or not. When you're finished using the van, you will want to switch this rocker switch back into the middle so that no power from either battery is being drained. So you've then got water pump switch. So once you've turned that water pump switch on there, the pump itself, which sits just down here in front of the boiler, the blue thing just there, the pump itself has now got power. Now it hasn't turned itself on and run for a second because it's already pressurized. All right, so turning that pump switch on there and then just having a quick go at the tap, cold side, round to the hot. Literally just by doing that proves to me that we're at pressure, and also that the boiler is full. So if we had the pump switched on like that and we drew the water through on the hot side of the tap, if water comes through like it did just then, the boiler is 100% definitely full. If the boiler wasn't full, so if you drained it out for winter, or you know, if it just wasn't full enough yet, when you turn that pump switch on and pull the water through on the hot side, you'll get absolutely nothing coming through until it's full. So that's really important to do. If you want to use the boiler, you absolutely 100% need to make sure that it's full of water first, and that's the way you do it. Just check that you've got water coming through on the hot side of the tap, and then you can go ahead and use the boiler however you want to. Okay, so in doing that, we've proven to ourselves that we're at pressure, we've proven to ourselves that the boiler's full, and then we can turn the pump switch off if we're not using it. The last switch on here is your awning light switch. So when I turn that on, it looks a little bit dim at the moment because it is an LED bulb, but that is working really nicely. So at night, when you actually need that awning light to be on, it will, you know, if you've got the awning wound out outside, you've got your light down there and it will light up the whole area underneath you. The rest of the lights will come on and start working as soon as you select a battery on the left hand side. So as I said, we've chosen leisure at the moment, and so that means that I can go ahead and use any of the lights that I want to, because they've all got power at the moment. All of the under counter lights as well look to me like they've been replaced for nice LED bulbs, which is always really, really helpful, because LEDs just draw so much less power than the standard sort of halogen bulbs. So some people will go around and select and change every single bulb for LEDs as well. I'm not sure whether or not these have been done. I think that's I'm not sure actually. That might be an LED bulb. It could well be halogen. But, you know, it doesn't really matter. All of these vans came out with all halogen bulbs anyway. But if you wanted to have less power being drawn from the lights, that is something you can look into. Okay, so that's the control panel up there. That basically allows us to turn everything on and off from up there. So you've got, down here, we've got the step switch just here, and your two light switches that I was just showing you there. So basically for the lights at the back, and this one and the one above us there. So that's those two switches just there. The rest of the lights, as I just pointed out, have got their own switches on them. So you've got these two here. We've got 4 in the back end of the vehicle underneath the cupboards. And we've also got the lights in the bathroom, which work from that switch. Okay, so the rest of the van is essentially just going to be sort of appliances and things like that. So that is what I'm going to get into now. I'm going to start from the front and work my way back. So first thing I'm going to run you through is your Electrolux fridge. So the fridge itself, you can see there we've got the freezer compartment at the top, which comes down from the top there. And this is a 3-way fridge. And the reason it's a 3-way fridge, I'll just sit down so I can show you properly, is that it has 3 separate energies that will keep this fridge cold. So at the moment, you can see that my little selector switch is down on gas, and that is the energy that's keeping the fridge cold at the moment. All right, so if I wanted to select another energy, so if I had the engine running and I wanted to use the 12-volt power, I could select 12 volt from there. And if I, like I do at the moment, had the hookup plugged in, I could select mains. And what that essentially will do is it will start drawing a certain amount of power from the hookup section and keep the fridge cold via an element. All the way up to the top, turns the fridge completely off, and then you can go ahead and, you know, just completely forget about it, because that's, you know, 100% off. So to light it up on the gas, I mean, these two are pretty simple. You literally just select them. If you want it on the mains, you choose that one. If you want it on 12 volt, you choose that one. But if you actually want to light it up on the gas, you do have to do a little process. So we go down to the bottom, and then we look over to the right hand side. Now you can see, and you might not be able to hear it on the video, but I can hear the actual igniter clicking at the back of the fridge. So that's what that there is telling us. That flash is telling us that the igniter is on. So all you have to do, press this little dial in, the igniter stops immediately, and the reason that it's stopped is because the fridge has lit up on gas. So the way that it works is they've got a little thermocouple at the back there, or a flame sensor, and when it senses that flame is on, it turns the ignition off. All right, so that ignition going off there is a good sign that the fridge has lit up on gas. You can, if you want to, go around to the vent on the outside and physically put your hand over it like I did, and feel the heat coming out of it, and that'll prove to you that it's on as well. But that's completely up to you how you want to do that. Once it has lit up on gas, or you've selected the mains, it will take about 2 or 3 hours to actually get the fridge 100% cold. And the 12 volt just there is only for keeping the fridge cold whilst you drive. All right. So what you've got is something called a split charger, or a split relay. And what a split relay does is it basically splits some of the power from the alternator coming from the engine and sends some of it back to the leisure side of the power as well. So you can select the 12 volt whilst you drive, but it will not work unless your engine is running. The 12 volt isn't really powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. So if you're going for a long journey and you think that, you know, you can just switch down to 12 volt and it'll be fine, I can pretty much guarantee you that it will not get properly cold. So really the idea is you have to pre-cool the fridge before you leave, either on gas or on the mains, and then just switch over to 12 volt as you drive. So hopefully that makes sense. Right, next thing is the space heater. So this is a Trumatic Ultra Heat. So Truma is the company that make these heaters, as well as the boiler as well. That's a Truma Ultra Store boiler. But yeah, the Ultra Heats are super reliable and very, very easy to use. At the moment, I have got the heater lit up on the gas, and we can probably see the nice blue flame inside that little peephole there. So what I'm going to do to show you how it works is I'm going to switch this off for a second. To turn the gas flame off, as you can see it's gone out now, all I had to do was turn this dial back round to 0. And that basically just stops the gas coming through, stops the valve and stops the gas being allowed through. So before I light this back up again, I'm just going to show you over on this right hand side, we've got the fan. So any of these circular vents that are around the vehicle, there's one in the bathroom, there's 2 there. Any of those vents are basically powered by this fan, which you can probably see at the back of the heater, maybe not. Yeah, so that little circular part at the back of the heater there is your fan. So to get that to work, you turn it off, go back on. You basically got an off switch in the middle, on to the left, and then your dial here telling it how fast to blow. All right, you can leave it on A, which is automatic, but I personally just do not see the point in it. I think you're better off just selecting this one and choosing manually how fast you want the fan to run. The amount of times that I've seen people leaving these fans on by accident is unbelievable, so please remember to switch this off, because this will do no good to your leisure battery. If you leave it on all the time, it will just completely munch it up and sort of, you know, it'll be completely knackered. So the fan is that one there. If you want to light the heater up on the gas, all you have to do is turn the dial around to sort of 2 or 3. And again, I'm not sure if you better hear it, but there is an igniter clicking away inside there now. And all I'm going to do now is press down on the button. You can see there, we've got our pilot flame on, which is what happens when you press and hold on this. And now all I'm going to do is lift up on the tab. So I've let go of that now, it's still on pilot. And then I'm going to turn this dial all the way around. So if you watch what happens when I turn it all the way around, main flame kicks in, and we're back to a steady main flame. So it's just like a sort of older boiler, basically, or a gas fire in an old living room or something like that. Exactly the same idea, but that's how you use that. So I'm going to leave that on for a minute, but there is another way that you can use this heater, so I'm just going to show you that as well. So there is lots of other things I'm going to show you around here as well, but because I'm on the subject of the heater, I'm going to run you through that first. So on the left hand side, first of all, we've got these 3 switches. We've got charger, heating and water. So if I want to use this space heater on the mains power, if I'm hooked up on the mains, I will turn this middle switch that says heating on, and then I'll select either 500, 1000 or 2000 on the heat dial up here, which is essentially the amount of watts that the heater inside there will use. So if you want to use that on the mains instead of the gas, you do so like that. So you turn the switch on here that says heating, and then select either 500, 1000 or 2000. Now the only thing I'll point out is that the electric heating on these works really nicely, no doubt about that, but if you were to select 2000, so 2000 watts on the top heat dial, that will be drawing about 8 amps on its own. All right. So if, for example, you're at a campsite and you're plugged into a 13 amp pole, if you select 2000 on that heat there, you're going to be drawing 8 of those 13 amps just from that. You'll probably be drawing about half an amp from the charger. If you've got the fridge on the mains, you're going to be drawing an amp from that. So you've just got to kind of weigh up whether or not you want to use that much power from one specific thing. So in my opinion, you'd be better off selecting either 500 or 1000 on there, because you've got 500, which is about 2.5 amps, and 1000, which is about 4. So a bit more realistic of an amount of power to draw from one appliance. When you're done using that, switch the mains power switch off for the heating off again. So basically when I turn this on now, it will just flash on and go off like that. All right, so that's completely isolated now. So that's how you use the heater. The gas, switching the gas on is on top of the actual heater itself, and the heating is these 2 here. Whilst we're in this area, I will just show you how to use the water heater. So first things first, I already mentioned earlier on, I know, about the water pump and just checking that the boiler's full by drawing the hot water through. Once you've done that, the only other thing you want to check, well, I mean, this is something you would check first really, but this little yellow lever here is your boiler drain off point. So at the moment where it's laying flat like that, it's going to keep any water that's inside the boiler inside. If I lifted it upright, all the water from inside the boiler would drain out onto the floor directly underneath that. All right, so that's how you actually drain the boiler out. The only time you ever really want to drain the boiler out is if you are leaving it over winter, for example, and you know, you're going to basically be leaving the water inside of it. If you're thinking that maybe it's going to get cold enough for water to freeze, it's really important to drain that out. But as long as you've checked that you've got water in the boiler by doing what I showed you earlier, you can do these next things without really even worrying about it at all. So, just like the heating one, we've got two switches. We've got water and water. So first off, turn the water switch on, and then we can actually use the dial. Well, actually, that's not really the same way it works. Actually, forget that. So with the water heating, you've essentially got a gas switch here and a mains power switch here. So if you want to use the water heating on the mains, you just literally turn that switch on there and it will start drawing about 2.5 amps, I think it is, and heating up the water inside of it. So literally, just by turning this switch on, it will start heating the water up on the mains. If you don't want to use it on the mains and you want to use it on the gas, all you have to do is select your temperature inside here. So it goes from 30 through to 70, and then just turn this dial once to the right. All right, and that's how that works. So you basically just turn the whole dial once to the right, wait for it to light up, and then you can go ahead and check on the outside as well if you want to make sure there's heat coming out of that cover that I showed you. First thing, before you even do that as well, just make sure that you've taken your cover off the outside of the van if you have fitted it back on, because if you try and light it up with that cover on, it will not work. All right, so hopefully that all makes sense. I'm just going to turn the charger off now as well, because we don't really need that on now. And there you go. So, I'm just going to turn the heater off. So we've got the cooker here now as well. So we've got the 4-burner hob at the top, grill and oven. So there is ignition for all of these from here. And you've got a little dial here, a little sort of, what do you call it, stickers here to show you what they all do. So you've got top left, bottom right, top right, grill and oven. Okay, so the grill door needs to be open when you're using it, and the oven door obviously shut. I very rarely actually run through these cookers because they are just literally like a household cooker. There's nothing technical about them whatsoever. The only thing I will say is that please allow this whole cooker to cool down before you put this lid back down. These glass lids are made to be quite tough, but if you have really hot, you know, because the grill's vent is right here in the middle, so that's the worst one really. If you've just turned the grill off, don't just put this lid straight down, because I can pretty much guarantee you that with the heat coming out through here and the colder air on the top, this glass will break. You know, I've seen it a few times now. So allow the whole cooker top to cool right down before putting the lid back down if you can, and that's really helpful. So pop this cupboard down now as well. So the leisure battery itself is just there. I am going to be replacing that in a minute, because that's, you know, it's a little bit old and outdated really. So I'm going to put a new one in there, so that'll be nice and brand new for you. But you've essentially got previous owner again as fitted underneath the vehicle. The two big cables that come out from there are also being sent over to this other box over here, where I think essentially he did have another leisure battery in here directly linked up, so it was all in line. So if you want to do that in the future, you can do. We didn't take it out. I think it was gone before we got the vehicle. But if you wanted to do that, you can. It's, you know, the option's there for you if you want to do that. But yeah, so that's where your leisure battery is. If you do end up having the 2 leisure batteries, they just literally sit in line, so you haven't got to do anything particularly technical on it. You've got your solar controller down here, so that is wired up to the leisure battery, and you can see the power that's going into that from there. You've then got, in this overhead sort of drinks cupboard, you've got your this is your TV aerial booster. So you've got a little switch on the top which turns it on and off, and that is the thing that essentially boosts the signal enough for you to get a decent signal coming through the aerial socket down there. Last place I'm going to show you, well, second to last, is this wardrobe here. It might look a little bit of a mess, but that's because there's a few bits in here that you need to sort of know about. So you've got an external aerial, which I probably forgot to mention it, but on the outside there's a couple of little white hooks. Now the external aerial sits on those white hooks, and then will basically give signal to the inside, so that's nice and easy. You've then got your full-size table just inside here as well, awning winder, which is this white part just here. Absolutely stacks and stacks of paperwork inside this brown folder, as well as some that we've got in the office as well. Previous owner has also written out a really helpful little list here to show you what all of the fuses do and what they are rated to. So that's just going to be left in there for you. So in here, as I said, you've got your fuses there, which have got a diagram to show you what they do, and your mains trip switches next door to them. Battery charger is this part just here, and that's it really. So I'm just going to close this up now, and then I'll show you quickly the bathroom. So the shower tray on here was a little bit broken up at the back here, so what I have had to do to repair it is I've used something called plastic coat, which is like a spray paint, but it's really, really thick and basically turns into like a plastic. So down here, it's not absolutely perfect, but the cracks that were running along they had absolutely nothing underneath them to support them. So what I've done to try and sort of rectify that is underneath I've put in some sealant, which is basically, it expands when it goes in. So that's now pushing up against it. I cut the tops off of that, and then I put a little bit of fiberglass over the top there as well. Sanded it back as best I could, and then used the plastic coat spray. So I think it's ended up looking quite nice. It's not an absolutely perfect colour match, but fingers crossed you're happy with it. It shouldn't give you any other problems, because I've done that really nice, strong, solid repair on it. You know, it might not be the prettiest, but it is very, very strong, so you shouldn't get any problems with it. So we also had the issue of there being no shower. So at some point in the van's life, the original pull-out shower hose had been replaced for a normal tap. So what we've done is we've fitted next door to it another tap there, which comes off and specifically powers the shower there. So you have got 2 taps basically, one just for the normal sink and one for the shower. You've then also got the toilet, which is very, very simple. You've got a blue button at the back just there, which when you press it will pump around the flush fluid around the toilet bowl, as long as you've got your water pump switched on. To drain that out into the cassette, we pull the little flap just here, opens the flap up, and then close it back over when we're done. So that is that. Pretty simple. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all I can show you on the van. I don't think there's anything else really. If there is anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over, just let us know. If you could sort of like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is you're watching this on, probably YouTube. So if you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be really helpful. I've been doing these videos on the channel here for quite some time. We're a small family-run business. We've been in the same place here for about nearly 50 years now. My granddad started the place up. So, you know, we are really grateful for all of the subscribers and the, you know, likes, follows, whatever. So, yeah, let us know if you've got any other questions on the vehicle, any questions whatsoever, and we will we'll get back to you with any answers. Thanks very much.